All right, Farmer Jason here at Wave Fruit Farm. What we're doing today is we are taking rough cut wood and we're taking it down to what you would normally see like on a tabletop. What we're in the process of doing is trying to make a new bench seating for the cafe. It's actually going to be a countertop so people can eat kind of on the back wall of the cafe. So that's what we're in the process of doing today. I bought some wood almost 15 years ago. I made some things from my house out of it, but I had some left. And we're in a couple different stages of it along here already. We're bringing you in. What all the wood started looking like was this. This is called rough cut lumber. What it is, this is called 5/4. It's actually gonna be a little thicker than your normal piece of wood would be. And so we'll end up with a little bit thicker wood at the end. But it's rough cut, which means when they dropped the tree down, they just went through with a bandsaw and cut it into these type boards. There's been no finishing done to it. And you wouldn't want this as your finished product. It's got some knots, it's not all that good. Now this is just a short piece. The longer pieces we've already started doing. So this is how it starts. And then right now on our floor of our messy shop that you can kind of see me in, this is our different stages. That pile right here is completely finished. It's gonna be, it is ready to put together. This pile over here still needs a little bit of work. And so what we're gonna be doing is finishing that up, but I'll show you the whole process and how this goes. And so we're gonna be taking rough cut lumber, stuff that just came down, cut with the tree. Now that happened 20 years, almost 15 years ago. So this stuff is nice and dry. If you're not careful, if it's still wet, it'll warp and shrink and it's nasty. So you have to make sure it's nice and dry. So this stuff was kiln dry, but then I've left it sit for almost 15 years, just getting nice and dry. So I'm gonna show you the process. That little chunk is actually not really usable. The reason being is it's got a big knot in it. So I cut this off already just so it wouldn't be processed, but I'm gonna show you what we did. And I'm gonna show you with the little board because it's a lot easier to watch me than with the big boards. And today I do have my helper Katie and my helper Eddie. We're all in here working on it together. So, all right, I'm gonna show you the first step. The first step is planing. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna send this through the planer a couple times to get it smoother on the face. All right. Ready? All right, so now what that did, we just took 2 passes. Again, this is just more for demonstration purposes. I wouldn't use this board, but you can see how it's made part of it flat and the parts that were bumpy are still there. And so what we're gonna have to do with this is we would have to take quite a few more passes to get it down. But what I wanna do is I wanna show you the next step in the process of what we normally do. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna unhook some electrical. We're gonna switch around our vacuum. Part of what you heard was my vacuum over there. It's sucking in all that dust so it doesn't get everywhere. So we're gonna pause here for a second and we'll be back with you once we change our dust hoses and our electrical. All right, the next step in the process is joining it. So we've got it a little bit started where we've started planing the flat edges down and we've gotten rid of the rough wood. Now the next thing we've got to do is we've got to make our edges straight. If you look at this, the edges are all nasty, curvy, busted out. And so these aren't going to go together very well as a tabletop. So the next thing we have to do is we have to join it. This is a nice flat table. So what it's going to do is it's going to take that wood and it's going to make that bottom edge super flat. Now, we're only going to do one edge here. and I'll explain why in a second. So what I was able to do was I was able to hear that machine was taking off some off of the entire edge. So now what you can see is my edge is 90 degrees perpendicular to the edge, and it's all smooth. Now we can't do the other edge because then the board wouldn't be square. So what we have to do next is we have to go over to our table saw and cut off the other side. All right, we're gonna switch our dust collection and our electrical, and we'll be right back. All right, we had to pause there for a second. We all had to find our safety stuff, including my videographer. My daughter Katie had to find her hearing protection. So we are back at it now. And with this board, we've already planed it a few times. It is not at final thickness. We have to keep planing it down, and we'll go through that in a second. But the first thing is there's a big knot right here on the board. And what it's happening is it's causing this board to twist. As it dried, it pulled towards that knot. And so the board right in here is not that pretty to begin with, and it's also making it really curve. And so no matter how much joining I do, it's not gonna come out. So what we're gonna do is rather than trying to ever join this straight, we're just gonna cut this end off, and we could probably use this last little piece for something. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna use our arm saw here. All right, and then this is gonna fall away. And I have a pile of wood here that's left over from all the different pieces that we've cut off. When you're using the rough cut wood, you do have more waste than what you have if you buy the other stuff. But they have this waste there, and what we'll do is we'll find some other little projects for that to be used for. So now what we're gonna do is we're gonna move to our joiner. We'll click everything on here, and we're gonna join this one edge down so that we're nice and square. So, all right. Now what we're gonna do is move over the joiner. This is gonna take two of us this time. Go ahead and pull that cord off there, Eddie. Go ahead and click on our vacuum system. And then you wanna grab this back end for me. Eddie, over here. Now with the longer boards, it's harder to keep it nice and square, so we're gonna have to work at it. Joined. So now we've got our one edge joined, and what we're gonna do is we can table saw this other side to get it straight. At this point, I'm not sure what the dimension of this board has to be, so we're not gonna table saw this other side. But what we're gonna do is we're gonna run it through our planer, and we'll show you what a full length one going through the planer looks like. You wanna move the dust. Dust those. All right, so each time we have to move it. When we were doing all those boards, we just did them all at one point, so we didn't have to move everything each time. But this last board didn't get done until now. If I was gonna do a lot more of this, I'd have to clean up my shop. You know, I really should get this place a little cleaner, make our life a little bit easier. But we got everything moved around again, so we're gonna start up again, and I'm gonna show you what a full length board does. This thing is wicked loud, and so we're gonna have to put back on our hearing protection and eye protection, because it would make you deaf otherwise. passes it back to me on the top, and then what we do is we always flip it, and that way we make sure that both edges stay nice. And so what's amazing, let me grab the board over here, is in just a few minutes worth of work, we went from this, where you can't tell the grain of the wood, you can't hardly tell, you would actually think that this is not a very attractive board. Like even this part, you would think that that's maybe garbage. You know, this bottom part's bad, but this is what this board started out looking like. And look how beautiful it is now. We've got a square edge, we've got a top board, and we're ready to make table with that. So now all we have to do is we're gonna cut everything to length, and then here tomorrow, what we'll do is we'll start showing you how we're gonna put them together, and we'll put it up in the cafe. All right, thank you all for joining us today, and we'll be back tomorrow. So this one we're going to try to get most of the ones out of it that we can.
Just don't mind me.
Alright, so what we're going to do is we're going to cut this one to length. Get there, Eddie. Right on the edge. If we put the measuring tape right on the edge, we don't get the error. Hold on, I want to make sure the other one's long enough. This is 105 inches. I want to make sure I don't cut our board too short, and then we don't have enough. Right on the edge so we don't have any error. 1/16 exactly. All right, now this is the bottom side on that other stack. Can you get it or you need help? Right here on top of that one, Eddie. Turn it. That side up. All right, last one. I said the other one was 1/16, right? This needs to be 105 1/4. Right on the edge. I'm gonna double check my math because they always say, measure twice, cut once. Alright, so now let's put these out in my truck and we'll take them back into the store for the night because it's gonna have to be drier in there to store them.
This one too?
All of them.
Okay.
I'll join them and glue them in there. Alright, let's get those scraps of what we cut off the edges.